Alright, so, hey yo, my fellow Rumble Maniacs. It's Mr. Rumble Roses here, and welcome to a bit of a random type of video. Um, this is something I'm going to be kind of referring to as the Elden Ring lore stories. Now, now with the Elden Ring lore stories, it's basically more or less a thing where I'm going to tell you guys some story slash lore of certain characters that I have made in this game. um, and I just want to kind of put this out there and say that I'm not really known to do this all the time, but something about Elden Ring kind of sparked it. Something kind of sparked something. Something about Elden Ring kind of like sparked the interest of me doing like a custom lore, like custom like lore idea slash story for certain characters and everything. And I figured that I would start this first episode off with the character that you see before you, known as Saoirse The Smol. So, let me take a let me take a bit of a drink real quick. Let me do this real quick. Okay, so Saoirse The Smol is basically a character that was made by a friend of mine, technically. At least from what I can, at least from what I can remember and gather. But my friend who made it was uh, Pagan O'Callaghan, also known as Pagan Pixie, also known as currently to this day as Horomancer. She was kind of like the character. She was pretty much the person who made Saoirse uh, as like a character being. Some could say that it's like that was like maybe like an OC of sorts. Um, now I can't really give like like all the lore per se of like how things came to be in a sense, other than like it kind of became like a bit of like a story that Pei and the Inverted Shadow had on his channel where the two of them basically kind of like had like a little bit of a like a non-canonical story thing kind of going on. Well, in my case, there are some moments where I took parts of um, so I feel like there's certain parts of the story that I took from that here and there, and kind of made like a what if scenario, kind of like making the Rumbleverse lore of events that happen afterwards. And I decided to kind of do this a little bit because I made a poll over on my Twitter asking people about should I take Saoirse into the DLC to finish her story like I did with Pei's character, like I did with Pei's fan run, of Horrormancer Pei, as well as Infallible. And even though I only got 2 votes, but um, the main thing was to end the story in base game. So I decided to do just that. So I'm gonna kind of tell you guys the lore story idea that I had, and kind of give a slight little ending to it. Now, this is just now just like with Pei's Elden Ring build and everything like that. It's all made as a fan run. Nothing's canonical and all that. Nothing's official. It's just the Rumbleverse side of things of what I did with making making my little like lore story for certain characters that I made, including Saoirse here. So, so before I get started though, I do want to give a special shout out to my friend Pei, aka Horrormancer, for allowing me to have some fun with this whole thing. You know, not only making her in Elden Ring, but also even Infallible and even Saoirse here. Um, so Pei, if you're watching this somehow or listening to this, again, thank you very much for allowing me, to you know make you and make you know Foul and Saoirse and Elden Ring and kind of just do my little thing with it. So the story goes like this. Infallible and Saoirse were known to be one being. One being kind of pretty much like one being that had like two mindsets, if you will. I would say almost like Two-Face from like the Batman world, but instead of having like one side of the body looking like this and the other side of the body looking like that, it was kind of like a thing where it was like a fight for control at times where one would try and take over the body to become the host in order to, make themselves be known, I guess you can say. Um, and the story kind of climaxed in a way where Saoirse had kind of came across Shadow, aka Bird Shadow, and Unbreakable to try and hopefully, get things settled uh, with everything else going on from the two of them to even Saoirse and Infallible to hopefully even getting Saoirse and Infallible themselves to be their own beings and everything like that instead of having to fight, for control and anything like that. So, um, Saoirse came out of nowhere, like she sometimes likes to do, and her, Shadow, and Unbreakable had like a little bit of a talk, and they were talking about, and one thing that was kind of always mentioned was finishing the ritual to hopefully get the two of them to split and become their own being. Um, Saoirse here didn't know exactly as to what to think of it. She didn't know what to think of it. She didn't know if she could be able to do it or not. But Shadow and Unbreakable had basically kind of given her enough confidence to try and finish the procedure. Not really knowing what else to do, Saoirse herself, decided to give it a shot. Um, and so she focused in as much as she could, and she devoted all of her willpower and everything to actually finish the process, and thus make her and Infallible as their own beings. Um, and also those keeping the word of what Shadow and Unbreakable and even like Pei and everything, were, kind of talking about to hopefully try to help them, see things through. So they had like a little bit of a moment, kind of like some could say maybe like a good heartfelt type moment and everything like that. But Infallible basically had learned what happened with Unbreakable and Shadow all these years and everything, and um, Infallible pretty much went on a tangent, and she ended up wanting to get her revenge on Shadow to the point where she might have possibly wanted to try and kill him or something, pretty bad like. Um, but she pretty much stormed off, teleporting to God knows where. Um, and Shadow and Unbreakable were kind of like, we're kind of like distraught in a way, and Shadow himself felt bad about what had happened, especially from what he had basically blurted out to what Infallible didn't know. Um, and then off in the distance, Saoirse, Saoirse also kind of went her own way and everything like that, trying to distance herself and everything from everything that was happening because she felt guilty. She felt guilty that um, that she pretty much felt guilty about what happened. She kept thinking there was her fault and everything like that. Um, and then one random day, one random attempt of going through different worlds and all that, Saoirse ended up in the realm known only as the Lands Between, which is what you see, which is pretty much what you see her in now. Um, she also became different. She also had basically changed overall. She was no longer like an inkling type of being, but more human-like, or as they say in Lands Between, a tarnished. And so, Saoirse, not knowing exactly as to what was going on and everything like that, she tried to be able to make sense of everything, and thus hopefully tried maybe find a way to get back into um, either like the realm of shadows or somewhere that she knew very well, or at least was comfortable in a place being. Now, this is where things kind of like had like their own little adventure, if you will. So, Saoirse learned the ways of the lands between. She learned to she learned trying to defend herself and everything like that. She had learned about how to use certain weapons and incantations that the realm of the lands between had to offer and everything. And slowly but surely, she built up enough confidence to become what one would say was like a tarnished warrior. Eventually, she made a lot of progress on her journey, trying to hopefully get back to to familiar grounds and everything like that. To the point where she actually managed to get to to the being known as Radigan, and being able to defeat them in battle, and also thus unleashing what it was known as the Elden Beast. After a hard-fought victory, Saoirse ended up becoming the realm's Elden Lord. Um, and she she had a bit more confidence than what she was known for, because Saoirse was known to be kind of like the small, timid, and overall shy being, uh, for the most part. Now, many years had passed, and even though Saoirse was still in the lands between, she she still missed, being able to see her beloved sister that she likes to, or at least is what she calls as her sister, which was infallible. But she also missed seeing the likes of Unbreakable, Shadow, and even Pei. Now, one day, Saoirse was given word that there was a portal that could hopefully take her back to where uh, to where she originally came from. not hesitating to, you know, discover to discover this place. She found, she found an unknown cave that happened to have some sort of like, some so that has some sort of like ability, like some sort of like teleporter thing, like there was a rift or something like that. I don't know quite the right words in order to say it. But she basically found a way to hopefully get back home or at least get somewhere close to it. So she held her breath and she went through and she became and what she didn't know was at the time was she went into the grove. Now, from what from what she had, discovered, she was very confused but also kind of frightened in a way. Um, but off in a completely different location, Pei had gotten an alarm thinking that something bad had happened because it was around that time that Infallible was apparently seeming to make a comeback and was trying to cause havoc, if you will. Not hesitating on trying to figure out what the alarm was all about, Pagan left to go search and see what was going on. So with her druid magics and everything, she teleported to the location as to where the unknown entity that was triggering the alarm was coming from. She looks around, and off in the distance, she sees the small one, the small being, if you will, aka Saoirse. Now, she wanted to observe her a little bit, so she managed to work her way up a giant tree and watch her from a distance. And what Saoirse did not know was that during her time there within the grove, even though it might have been short and everything, might have been short than what she had anticipated, the trees were known to move around to pretty much be like a never-ending maze, to where um, to where it seemed like there was no beginning and there was no end. Um, and she kind of brought that up to the point where Pei actually decided to speak up and and everything like that. And then Pei and Saoirse had a bit of a moment where they talked, and Saoirse was pretty much kind of in distraught because she still felt bad about what had happened, and she felt like she kind of felt pressured in a way to what had happened to where she to where she performed the ritual to hopefully separate her and the fallible as being their own beings. Pei, of course, did the one thing that she thought would help ease her mind, which was giving her a cup of tea, her favorite beverage, if you will. And she tried to calm Saoirse down a little bit and everything like that, but she also tried to light a fire under her to be able to hopefully try and get some confidence within her to say, hey, what are you going to do about everything that's going on? And somehow it somehow seemed to work even more. It somehow seemed to work to where Saoirse herself said that she was going to fight. She was going to stand up for it, for what she believes in, for what was going on and everything like that. And then her and then the two of them basically decided to have like a little bit of sparring session, if you will. Um, and then, um, and then sometime later, she basically had, like a new lease on life, if you will. You know, she kind of like updated her appearance a little bit, and kind of had a little bit more oomph in her step, if you will. Um, and that's pretty much the story slash lore that I have made for Saoirse The Smol here in Elden Ring. Um, I don't know how people will think about this whole thing, but this was something that I had this was something that kind of like sparked the interest, if you will. You know, like because again, this is something that I never thought I would ever do for any character, especially when it came to to Elden Ring and all that. But if I'm not doing much of anything, then maybe I will do a another little like episode slash video thing, if you will, of like another Elden Ring lore video of one of my characters that I've made in the game. I'm not gonna guarantee I'm gonna do all of them, but there are some that I kind of came up with and could probably share with all of you. But overall, though, thank you all so much for watching slash listening to my little tale. And if you like what you saw and everything like that, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and everything. And also feel free to follow me on Twitch, where I often play a lot of Elden Ring and everything like that. Whether I'm playing as like as Pay yourself in Elden Ring, or maybe if I'm playing as Infallible, or who knows. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully in the next video or live stream.